Hey, Gabe Jenkins coming to you from the Really Illuminating Classroom at the RLC here. Still trying to come up with a tagline, but that's all right. We are just getting started in our use of AutoCAD, and so one of the things I had you watch was a quick video about, actually 3 videos, about the coordinate system. And we're learning about that because AutoCAD is, like every CAD program in the world, uses what's called the Cartesian coordinate grid system when it's trying to help you draw. So what is that? Well, in math class, you guys have learned about the Cartesian coordinate grid system. It's basically the XY coordinate grid system. So like on a graph, right, you got the X that goes left and right in the horizontal direction, and the Y, which goes in the vertical direction. And so when you're trying to specify where something is on this graph, you have to say what the coordinate points are. You start with the X, and then you go with the Y after that. And so it looks like number, comma, number. Hopefully everybody understands that already. This point down here on an XY Cartesian coordinate grid is called the origin, right? It's the 0, 0 point. It's not anywhere in the X direction, it's not anywhere in the Y direction, it's not positive or negative in X or positive or negative in Y. And so it is 0 in the X direction and 0 in the Y direction, right? That would be over here would be a negative X, and down here would be a negative Y. But we're not worried about that right now. The reason I'm bringing this up is because CAD programs use these coordinates when they're trying to keep track of where everything you're drawing is. Sometimes when you just pick up like the drawing tool and you say, I want to draw a line, and you just click on some point and you say, I'm drawing a line from here to here, it needs to know where that starting point is and where that end point of the line is, right? And so part of what you are going to become more and more comfortable with over time is just kind of understanding where you're drawing things and why it matters. So the first thing I'm going to have you do before we actually get into using the buttons, the icons, to use the line tools and the circle tools and all those things, is to just make sure we understand the coordinate grid. So I'm going to erase this. Everybody understands X is in the horizontal direction, Y is in the vertical direction, and the bottom point right here is the 0, 0 origin. So with that, the first couple of things I ask you to do is just try to figure out how to draw this shape right here. How to draw this shape that goes How do you draw that? Just using the coordinates. So not picking up the clicking here, clicking there. What if you had to actually just say where all of these coordinate corners are, right? First thing to note is that it wants this down here to be your start point, and it says direction of travel is indicated by these arrows. So if you look at it here, it's like the direction of travel that goes, it starts here, it goes up to this corner, and then it goes over, then it goes down, over, down, and then finally back to the starting point. That's the shape you're trying to draw. Now all of these numbers here, the 40 and the 60 and the 30 and the 10, those are dimensions for this shape. And these lines that come off of the shape, like this one right here, or this one right here, or this long one right here, what those are, they're called dimension lines. We're going to learn all about that in our drawing class. And the dimension lines help you determine from where to where this distance is measured. So like as a quick example, this 60 right here, the 60 in the middle, it's got an arrow and it points to this dimension line on the left and it points to this dimension line on the right. That means that from this point right here to this point right here, that distance is 60 millimeters in this case. All of these are in millimeters, okay? So let's try to figure this out. And you might already have a pretty good idea. You might already be able to do this very quickly. I hope so. But let's start. It says we got to start right here, and that is our origin. And so if that's our origin, we know that the origin is at 0, 0, right? And so the first point I'm going to say when I fill this out, it says click your mouse anywhere. So say you clicked on the mouse like up here. Well, that's not where you want to go. So you want to go to the next point is going to be 0, 0, and that's our origin point right here. We said the direction of travel is going to go up. And so from 0, 0, we're going to go up by exactly 30 millimeters. Because from here, the bottom of the shape, to the top of the shape is 30 millimeters. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going left or right at all when I go straight up. So my x coordinate doesn't change at all, but my y coordinate does. So if I'm going to write what the coordinates of this point are right here, it's still 0 in the x direction, but instead of 0 in the y, I've gone up 30, and so it's 30. Okay? So it's 0, 30 would be the coordinate points of that, the coordinate pair of that point right there. The next point is going to be over here because we're going in this direction of travel. Now in this case, our y is not going to change at all because we're not going up or down. We're just going over to the right. The question is how far? Well, if I look at my dimension lines, this 40 right here means that from this point right here to this point right here is a distance of 40. So I haven't changed anything about my y, but my x is changing. And we write the x coordinate first. So I'm going to say 40, comma, 30. From here, we're going to go down to this point right here. So in this case, our x doesn't change at all because we're just going straight vertically down. And but our y is going to change. The question is, though, by how much? And so when we look at it, we see that the distance from here to the very bottom is 30, right? But that's not, we're not going all that way down there, right? We're not going from here all the way down to here. We're going from here to here. And we know that the distance from here to here, from this height to this height, is 10. So if the whole height is 30 and this is 10, well, that means that the distance from here to here must be 20. So if we were at 30 on the y-axis and we're going down 20, well, our new y is going to be 10. So let's write that in. Over here, our next point is going to be the x doesn't change at all because we're going straight down, so it's still at 40. Yet our y is now down from 30 down to 10. Okay. Now, from here to here we go over, and we already know that the distance way over here compared to the starting point, we know it's 60 in the x direction. So the x coordinate right here is 60. And our y hasn't changed because we're just going left, we're just going to the right. So the y is still 10. And then we're going down. The next point down here is going to be y equals 0 because now we're equal with the x-axis. So our y is not up or down compared to that. And so our y is 0 and our x is still whatever it just was, which was 60. So our point here is 60, comma, 0. And then from here, if we were drawing the shape to get back to our starting point, we would go back at the very end, we would go to 0, comma, 0. And that's it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You know, back in ye olden days, they had to use these coordinates to draw things. So if you wanted to draw a line, you actually had to know exactly what the x and y coordinates were for every single point you wanted to draw, for every rectangle, circle, square, everything you needed to know the coordinate grids. Now, luckily, we have buttons that help us to figure that stuff out. But just so you know how it thinks about where you're drawing things, it's going to constantly keep track of every single x and y coordinate for every single element you draw. And it's going to use those to try to make the exact shape that you want to make. All right, that's it for this one. Have a great day, and I'll see you in class.